All right, so our first subject, we talked a little bit about this on Monday, the Travis Scott concert. 8 people died after the crowd surge from this concert that happened at this festival in Houston. 50,000 people. We talked about the issue of crowd control. 300 were injured. Now, Travis Scott is actually in a lawsuit for inciting the crowd. So the question kind of is here, do you believe he's at fault?
Well, I mean, this thing's going to be investigated till the cows come home. That's number one. Live Nation, who I actually have had interface with, is one of the biggest concert promoters in the world. They're going to have their hands full here. Mm-hmm. And the things that are going to be looked at really is, what was the security around this concert and how did it get so out of control? And 8 people died.
Yep.
So this is not something that's going to go away, Sarah.
No, absolutely not. And I remember reading in one of the articles, I believe it was an NBC article, that he had spoken to police law enforcement officials before the concert, and they had expressed concerns, ended up getting kind of swept to the side, and this continued forward. It's interesting. He's been arrested twice for incidents at his concerts before, and people are saying that he just continued to play, and that's why they're kind of coming against him with this lawsuit. He did stop briefly when he noticed an audience member needed help and needed to be picked up, and then he also stopped a second time when the ambulance came by, but then he continued to perform for 30 more minutes. So, I mean, he was saying, let's get excited. He was yelling on the stage and trying to get the crowd amped up. I mean, but that happens at every single concert. So I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think the lawsuit has merit when he's saying, let's get excited and let's get, have fun. But I think, is the performer at fault? I don't know. That's a hard question.
Is this in your opinion, because I'll give you a little bit of a reference, but is this in your opinion not a black or white issue at all?
No.
But is this a 21st century, 2021 cultural issue that people go to concerts now and they can't behave themselves?
Yes and no. I mean, I think concerts have always been a place to let loose and have fun and kind of go crazy.
Back in the day though, everybody just got stoned to listen to the music.
I mean,
okay,
I understand that aspect of things,
I'm just telling you what happened.
Right. But
okay, there wasn't a lot of fights. There wasn't, oh man, this music's great. Okay, today there's violence around everything, and I'm asking, is that a 2021 cultural issue? Not black and white issue,
no.
Cultural issue.
I've never thought about it like that, and I didn't see it as that. I saw it more as just clearly there were just too many people there. I think it was probably, the barriers weren't set up properly, maybe not enough law enforcement there, too many people. So that's where my mind goes, not necessarily that crowds are rowdier. I'll give you a
stat, and I don't have the stat, but I'll give you a stat. Back in the day in the 70s, when you'd go to a concert, there was probably a third of the security that's needed for today. So
but there were probably a third of the people there too.
If the Rolling Stones came in, or if the Who came in, or if Motown or Marvin Gaye, no. Music was actually more popular then than it is today.
I don't know. That I can't speak to then. I'm not sure. That'd be interesting if we could find a study on that.
Yeah, but I'm saying, just from my own personal reference. So you don't think there's a cultural problem here?
Not initially. That's not my initial instinct. No.
All right.
But
all right.
I don't know. Did we miss the buzzer on that one?
The buzzer's
yes,
broke.
Yes, we did.
Oh, did it? Holden, did the buzzer ring? I didn't hear it.
We just flew by it. That's
I don't care about your buzzer. Go ahead.
All right, our next subject. So, effort to recall San Francisco's top prosecutor. It's been certified.
Okay, so they got a ton of signatures here, correct?
Yep.
And this is going to be a wave now through these democratically run cities. I'm not against democratically run cities. I've done a lot of business in San Francisco. I've spent a lot of time in San Francisco. The city is falling apart. Mm-hmm. The homeless situation, the drug situation, the crime situation, it's falling apart. Here is a guy, Chesa Bowden.
Mm-hmm. Bowden.
Chesa Bowden, okay? He runs on a platform, ladies and gentlemen, that no cash bail.
Yep.
And I don't want these mass incarcerations.
Mm-hmm. And creating a new unit to review wrongful convictions.
Correct. But here's the problem. One of the greatest American cities in the world, in the country now, is being overrun by all these problems. That I have many friends in San Francisco, and I talk to them, they hate it.
Yep.
They just, drugstores have had to close down. They're almost like letting robberies occur. And if anything could be worse than New York City, this is it.
Yeah.
This is maybe the worst in our country.
Well, and I think the group that's actually put together this petition to get him ousted actually has a leg to run on. So it's the Safer SF Without Bowden organization. They needed 80,000, or they needed only about 30,000 signatures. They got 80,000 signatures, and they're essentially saying that he failed to prioritize the public safety by being too lenient on repeat offenders. And I feel like we hear that across the country is the issue of repeat offenders, because if someone comes in once, they get let out too quickly. I mean, they're bound. We talked about it all 2 shows ago. Just the percentage is so much higher for people to come
and we're not here
again.
talking about we got to incarcerate everybody. That's
No.
not where we're coming from. It's just thank you, Holden. Any situation that ultimately has a lack of law and order is going to fall apart.
Yep.
And this whole defund the police is blowing up in people's faces. I know that everybody, no matter where you sit on the political spectrum, you want the same thing as everybody else. You want safe cities, you want good schools, you want good job. Everybody wants the same thing, but we have a tendency to really be separated when it comes to how we get there.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that there's 2 former prosecutors who are actually also in favor of ousting him, and they know how hard the job is. So for them to also be on the same team is interesting.
But he got voted in.
Yeah, he did. He did
Okay,
get voted in.
so San Francisco, do what you got to do. But I think the country needs to learn their lesson. When you have people running on that kind of platform, it's not ultimately good for your city.
I agree.
All right.
All right, so this next one, and I could go off about this next
Well,
one. So I'm gonna let you start.
No, this can be the Sarah Unplugged section.
Okay. So the White House is saying the Biden administration admitted, basically, and I say admitted for a reason here, that they are studying the impact of shutting down the Line 5, a key pipeline that basically takes crude oil and natural gas from Canada to Michigan.
Now, you know how many barrels?
Yeah, 540,000 barrels.
540,000 barrels.
Per day.
Per day.
Per day. Okay, so, and the thing is, the reason why I say admitted like that is because initially there was a report that came out that said, they're thinking about shutting down the pipeline. And then officials came to the front of the Biden administration during a press conference and said, that's not true. We're not thinking about shutting it down. Okay, then fine. Are you looking into a study about shutting down the pipeline? Oh, yes, we are doing that. Okay, so they're really making that stipulation and not admitting that they are essentially looking into shutting down the pipeline.
They admitted it now.
But they're saying that they're looking into a study about shutting it down. They're not looking to shut it down. So they're trying to make that distinction, which I think is absolutely ridiculous.
All right.
First off, so that's just talking about that. Let alone, if you want to talk about the 540,000 barrels of oil and gas per day, we are already in an energy crisis. We are already paying at the gas pump.
Begging Saudi to pump more oil.
Begging Saudi after we shut down the construction of the Keystone pipeline. We have suddenly, again, become energy dependent. And it's unbelievable that right now we're even talking about this. So the Keystone XL pipeline was 1,200 miles. So not nearly as big. It would have, basically the pipeline, it would have been much larger, I meant. It would have driven 830,000 barrels per day from Mexico into America. So that would have been extremely good for us. So now they're looking into cutting another pipeline, which is going to make it so much more difficult for Americans to be able to have any kind of infrastructure when it comes to transportation, when it comes to production here in America in the industry, as well as, again, we keep talking about our pocketbooks at the gas pump. I mean, we're just going to see it to continue to go up. And economists have said that if they shut down this pipeline, it is going to increase. Maybe not hugely. You might not see $2 or $3 bump, but in a time when we're already so energy dependent and so energy struggling, this is just going to make things worse.
Okay, so here's my take on all this, and that was well put, Sarah. Here's my take on this. Number one, if we're worried about the world climate, and we're worried about producing this stuff on our own and shutting down pipelines, but we're telling Saudi to produce more, what the hell are we accomplishing? That's number one. Number two, I want everyone to understand that I am sensitive to the environment. We have to, our kids and grandkids and everything else, but we have to be practical. You're not going to be able to get rid of fossil fuels just by the snap of a finger.
No.
By bankrupting companies, and these people, they drive me nuts when they say that. You're not going to be able to do that. What I'm in favor of, I'm a big Elon Musk guy. I think he's great. I think he's brilliant. Electric cars are a good idea as long as you can charge them up and as long as they become practical and they're priced right and everything else. It's a good idea, okay? It's a very, very good idea. But you're not going to get rid of fossil fuels. I think we said on the show 2 or 3 times ago, 79% of our total energy needs are from fossil fuels. You're not going to get rid of them. And the moment that you think you're just going to hit a switch and turn it off, I don't understand why this is even political. I mean, our liberal friends also have to be able to understand that they need these fossil fuels in order to run their lives. Now, I'll tell you, if he shuts down Line 5, that's called Line 5, that comes from Canada to Michigan, they're going to lose me.
Yeah.
Because you're guaranteed at the pump, you're going to see $4, $4.50 gas. And then you're going to be begging Saudi Arabia to pump more. What's the point?
Honestly, it's foolish. And it really is foolish. And last month, the EIA came out with a study or a report basically saying that the U.S. households that rely on natural gas for heating could spend upwards of $700 to heat their homes this winter. That's a 30% from what's normally expected from last year. I mean, that's unbelievable. And they're the highest, basically natural gas prices are expected to hit the highest levels since the winter of 2005.
It's not good, guys. It's not good for anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, forget the politics. It's not good. All right.
Absolutely not. All right, well, we are going into the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. So this gained a ton of media attention last year. Kind of the background about this was...
All right, you're going to get in a fight with me on this now. We're probably not going to agree on this.
Okay, all right. Well, real quick, we'll give people background. Don't start the timer yet. So we'll talk about the background. So he's on trial for killing 2 people and injuring another.
Correct.
During the BLM riots
Correct.
in Wisconsin in 2020.
Correct.
I guess my biggest issue with this story is that people painted him as a white supremacist, as a terrible person, as a vigilante, all of this stuff before any of the information came out. And that is the biggest issue with our country today. People crucify anyone if they decide that they don't like what they're doing or how they look without finding out all of the information. White, black, red, brown, I don't care what sex you are. I don't care what race you are. If you need to find out the information before making this decision. And that's why it's so important for these trials to be public. And this was a very public one and continues to be. And I hope that people actually pay attention to what's come out here, because I'll let you go first, but there's information that's coming.
No. But what I'm saying to you is I'm going to disagree with you on this for the premise on a couple of points here.
Okay.
And then you'll have all the time in the world to respond.
Okay.
This guy's an Illinois resident, doesn't even live in Kenosha. Let's start right there.
Okay.
So he decides that the Constitution of the United States allows him to take a semi-automatic rifle, put it in his car, drive 45 minutes to Kenosha from where he lives in Illinois, and walk the streets with a loaded gun. For what? I mean, he kills 2 people. He injures another. I don't understand what the hell he's trying to do here. I mean, that's my whole problem with this whole thing. I could understand if your parents' store was being robbed. I could understand if you lived and worked and owned property in that community. I could understand it a little better. You're not even from there, but yet you load your gun and you're walking the streets with your gun. What the hell do you expect is going to happen? Only bad things from there is going to happen. Now, I'm not backing the rioters. This is completely wrong, okay? But this poor young 17-year-old that's on social media with guns and I love guns and all this other stuff, I'm a Second Amendment guy to a point, okay? I've said that over and over and over. But I don't see what the hell this young kid was really trying to accomplish. Can you answer that one?
Yes. So what he said when, he actually stood trial at his own, or he actually took the stand at his own trial. He testified. And what he said was that he was going to help protect small businesses. So
under whose authority? The authority of the Constitution of the United States. Okay, you lose me a little there. Go ahead.
But okay, so that motive, I understand kind of where you're coming from there, but if he's saying in his mind, and what people who are in defense of him are saying, that he's trying to be a patriot, just trying to help and defend places that are being looted.
That he has nothing to do with.
But okay, but you see...
In a city he doesn't even live in.
Okay, but think about it. Let's say you're visiting a city, you see someone struggling on the side of the road who's hurt. Are you going to be like, I don't know that person, I don't live here, I'm not going to help them?
That's a horse of a different color. I didn't load up my semi-automatic weapon.
But to me, the principle is a little bit the same. So, again, continuing. So, according to the Associated Press, reports that Rittenhouse was trying to get...
You argue with your husband like this?
Always.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Anyways, so he was trying to get away from people that were pursuing him. That's what he said. That's what the man who, Gage, the man who survived, that's what he said. He also video reports also show that. And again, the man that survived, he said that he drew his gun first. Okay. And he said that on the stand. Now in, again...
You know what this reminds me of? The Tombstone movie, which I loved, with Kirk, or not with Kirk Russell, with... Kirk Russell.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Well, he drew the gun first, Sheriff. Why put yourself in that position?
I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, you have to look at the facts of the case. I understand you're kind of coming from the mindset of why did you go out there and put yourself in a situation.
If he was my son, if he was my nephew, if I even knew the kid, I'd say, please don't put yourself in that position. Let the police handle this.
But again, you're not looking at the facts of the case. You have to put yourself in the facts of the case. But the one thing that I think that he does not have in his favor, so the fact that Gage said he pulled his gun first, he was cornered, someone grabbed him, someone hit him with a skateboard, and I'm not saying, okay, then shoot the person. I'm not trying to defend that, but the issue that he's going to run into is that Wisconsin is not a stand your ground state. So it means that if you're being pursued, you have to retreat.
You know what he said? You know what he said, though? He said, if I didn't use my weapon, they were going to take my weapon and use it on me.
Well, and he had...
Okay, but that's okay.
I mean, I don't disagree with that statement.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that don't bring a loaded gun to a fight unless you're going to use it.
But Gage already had a gun. He already had a gun, and he admitted. And I'm gonna give you this quote real quick, because during cross-examination, the defense attorney asked Gage, it wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him with your gun, pointed at him, that he fired, right? Gage said, correct.
All right.
I mean, shoot or be shot.
All right, so is he going to get convicted? Is this a mistrial? How about that? Is it? Well, they're claiming that
they're trying to say that there's a mistrial because of some questions that the prosecution was asking, and the judge even had the jurors leave the room so that he could talk to the prosecution about how he was asking questions in the line of questioning. I don't know if there's going to be a mistrial. Is
he going to get convicted?
That I don't know, because if Wisconsin was a stand your ground state, I would say no, but it's not. They have the doctrine, or the castle doctrine, which means in your home, essentially, you can defend yourself with deadly force. But out in the public, it's not a stand your ground state.
We'll keep an eye on it. This will be interesting.
It will be interesting. I'm curious to see. All right, so our next double cake subject, American-trained Afghan pilots are trying to leave, and the Taliban is saying, no, stay. You're fine.
Well, no, we might need you.
We might need you.
For what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're saying, oh, no, don't worry. You're protected by amnesty. Would you trust the Taliban?
No. And the whole thing's a mess. This is a mess. And again, we've covered this over and over. We're not going to let the story die. Mm-hmm. Getting back to the main story, there's still Americans that are there that don't want to be there. There are all kinds of Afghanis that helped us in the 20-year war that are there that we left behind. This is an embarrassment. It's a national embarrassment. This whole pilot story really, Sarah, ties into the real discussion, which is why the hell did we handle the leaving
evacuation,
the evacuation? Why did we handle the evacuation the manner we handled it? Yeah. And again, on the other side of the equation, the Democrats, always point out that Trump wanted to leave too. But I don't believe that the Donald would have left that way.
No.
I believe he would have had conditions and he would have stuck to them.
And he would say, no man left behind.
Yes, but see, President Biden, for some reason, does things for political reasons that get him in an incredible amount of trouble. And this is one of them. And this is a stain that just is not going to go away.
No, I agree. And you know what's kind of interesting, and you're so right, it's not going to go away. I saw recently that now his name is blanking. So Channing Tatum and who played Bane in Batman?
I don't know.
Tom Hardy.
Oh.
And Tom Hardy are going to be starring in a movie about the evacuation of Afghanistan. And some people are like, this is excellent. This will be informative. I'm happy that, we're making a movie about how terrible this is. Other people are like, you're capitalizing on something.
Is Batman going to Afghanistan?
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
No.
All right.
But other people are saying that it's terrible that they're capitalizing and making profit from something so terrible. So what do you think?
I think it's bad.
Yeah.
I think the whole thing stinks.
Yeah.
And I think that it will define the Biden presidency as one of the biggest mistakes ever made in modern day history.
I don't disagree.
All right.